Delicious waffles,
muttered Tim, eyes narrowed at the pale, rubbery square on his plate. 3 seconds later, 2 burly officers from the Department of Sincerity slammed Tim against the diner wall.
Sarcasm detected. You are coming with us.
Tim sputtered, syrup clinging to his chin.
But the waffle, it's objectively terrible. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Boomed the officer, slapping cuffs on Tim's syrup-sticky wrists. The other diners watched, eyes wide, then returned to their own breakfast, faces carefully blank. A world without sarcasm was a world without risk, or flavor. The Department of Sincerity, or DOS, was everywhere. They patrolled the streets, monitored social media, even listened in on phone calls. Their weapon of choice? The Sincerity Sensor 3000, a handheld device that could detect even the slightest hint of irony. Penalties for sarcasm range from mandatory sincerity training to, in extreme cases, permanent residence in the dreaded joyful affirmation camps.
In today's news, the Department of Sincerity has successfully detected over 100 instances of sarcasm this week alone. Remember, folks, sincerity is the best policy.
In this world of enforced earnestness, sarcasm went underground. Hidden speakeasies, disguised as poetry readings or support groups for the chronically cheerful, offered refuge for those who still craved a good dose of sardonic wit. Bootleg recordings of old stand-up comedy routines and sitcoms circulated on the dark web, passed from one weary soul to another like precious contraband.
Psst, you looking for some vintage sarcasm? Got some classic Seinfeld right here.
Keep it down. We don't want any DOS spies catching wind of this.
The Ministry of Mirth, a government agency tasked with providing approved humor, churned out groan-inducing puns and saccharine-sweet songs about the joys of conformity. The irony? The only people laughing were the ministry officials themselves, their forced smiles more terrifying than any sarcastic sneer.
The resistance started small. A raised eyebrow here, a carefully muttered lovely weather during a hailstorm there.
But as the Department of Sincerity tightened its grip, so too did the rebellion grow bolder. Graffiti proclaiming sarcasm is not a crime, technically it was, popped up on government buildings.
Underground newspapers printed with ink laced with truth serum, the ultimate irony, exposed the hypocrisy and absurdity of the sincerity regime.
Section 6. When Sincerity Attacks. The Department of Sincerity, threatened by the rising tide of snark, fought back with a vengeance. They deployed weaponized puns, forced citizens to attend laugh-a-minute propaganda musicals, and unleashed their most insidious weapon yet, the sincerity serum. This insidious concoction, administered via aerosol sprays and spiked water supplies, promised to eradicate all traces of cynicism and doubt. The result? A nation of Stepford citizens, their faces frozen in rictus grins, their minds devoid of critical thought.
Section 7. The walls crumble, laughter finds a way. The regime had underestimated the power of a well-timed eye roll. One day, during a particularly excruciating performance by the Ministry of Mirth's official glee club, a young girl in the audience let out an audible snort. The sound, so pure, so full of genuine amusement at the absurdity of it all, echoed through the silent theatre. And like a virus, it spread. Soon, the entire audience was laughing, tears streaming down their faces. The years of pent-up sarcasm bursting forth. The dam had broken.
Section 8. Sarcasm Rehab, Relearning the Lost Art of Snark. With the Department of Sincerity overthrown and the Ministry of Mirth disbanded, society had to relearn the lost art of sarcasm. Rehabilitation centers, once used to cure people of their irony addiction, were repurposed to help citizens rediscover the nuances of tone and the joy of a well-placed barb. The process was slow, often painful, but ultimately rewarding. Section 9. In a world of literalists, be a sarcastic unicorn. The world learned a valuable lesson. Humor, even in its most biting form, is essential to the human experience. It allows us to cope with absurdity, challenge authority, and bond over shared experiences. So, the next time you feel the urge to suppress a sarcastic quip, remember, a little bit of snark can go a long way. After all, in a world that often feels like one giant, poorly written sitcom, sometimes all you can do is laugh. Or, roll your eyes and mutter under your breath, because In the immortal words of every sarcastic unicorn out there, this is fine.